Hello, and welcome to this short video on Japanese pronunciation for Shmup fans. Now before we start, I just want to be clear, I don't really care how people pronounce any of these words. If you already have a preference for something here and it's different from what I'm about to explain, that's absolutely fine by me. However, now and then I do see people on Twitter or YouTube actually wondering about the Japanese pronunciation of some of the games we play. And this video is for them. Now hopefully it's going to be pretty short because despite Japanese having a reputation for being forbiddingly difficult to learn, when it comes to simple pronunciation, it's actually remarkably easy. Yeah, pitch, intonation, perfect native speaker pronunciation, etc., that might be harder, but for our purposes, this is going to be very, very easy, and at the end of this video, you should be able to pronounce any game, or person, or historical era, or whatever from Japan with no bother whatsoever. So the main thing that most non-Japanese stumble over is the vowels. However, it will take you less than a minute to learn them, and if you follow the rules consistently, you will be accurate over 99% of the time. There are 5 vowels in Japanese represented in the Roman alphabet by A, I, U, O, and E. Now these 5 vowel sounds are pretty much always pronounced in the same way. I should say here, I am Scottish, so the examples here are words I pronounce in the same fashion. If you're American, you should pay more attention to the sounds than the examples, since we might pronounce these English words slightly differently. Anyway, the A sound is like the A in tap. The I sound is like a long E, like in tea. The E sound is like the E in egg. The O sound is like the O in on. And the U sound is like the U in moo. These vowels can then be preceded by consonants to make sounds like ka, ki, ke, ko, ku, or ha, hi, he, ho, hu. These H versions are actually a good example since it's easy to read HI as hi or HE as he, but no, it's always the same sounds. HI is he, HE is he. So already we can pronounce most Japanese game titles with just this knowledge. Let's look at an all-time classic, Ikaruga. Now, like I said, if you pronounce this one Ikaruga or Ikaruga, and that's how you like it, that's fine. But for the Japanese pronunciation, we can break it down into 4 separate sounds. I, ka, ru, and ga. Simple, right? And this breaking words down into parts is really helpful in general, especially with double vowels, as you will see in a second. Before we look at that though, let's take a quick look at probably the most controversial word in the world of shmups. Oh yes, that one. Now again, if you say tate, fine. I'm not asking anybody to change, but the Japanese pronunciation is, break it down, ta, te. There's a verb tateru meaning to stand, which is, I assume, where tate comes from, and yet ta, te is how you say it. And make sure the last sound is e, not e or a, ta, te. Alright, with that elephant out the room, let's look at the only slightly difficult part, which is double vowels. Now here's a game hitting switch next week that has some confusion over its pronunciation. Ray or Rai, right? Which is it? Well, let's just break it down again to give us Ra, I, De, N. So you have Ra followed by I. Say it slowly, Ra, I. Then without changing anything, a little faster, Rai, Rai, Rai. So yeah, we have Raiden. And this technique will work for any double vowel sound. OU is another common one. It ends up sounding like a long O. Our first example can also apply to Darius Gaiden. Now, some of you may have noticed the N on the end of these last 2 words is not followed by a vowel, and this is a one-off case. If you see games written with any other consonant on the end, you can tell that's either not the Japanese name or it's been altered to be easier for English speakers to say. Now this N can also come in the middle of words, like in Danmaku, or Saikyo's classic hori Tengai. Now earlier we had the example of ka, ki, and ha, hi, etc. And most consonants work in the same way, but one notable exception is the set beginning with T. Here we have a couple of differences. There is no T sound in Japanese, it's always chi. Nice and easy to say. And there is no tu sound, it's always tsu, which we don't really use in English, but isn't too hard to say either, and which you'll probably have used before in ketsui. So double vowels are pretty common in Japanese, but double consonants are not. We have that tsu and chi. We also have SHI pronounced she. Our next little set though do cause some trouble for people, but again, if you know the rules, they're actually super easy. So these are consonants followed by Y, then a vowel. For example, KYO or KYA. Now, the important thing here is that the ya or yo sound follows our initial rules, so ya or yo. You then place the K in front without changing that Y sound. So you have kya and kyo. They do not become kia or kayo. There's a Toho spin-off we can use for this example, mai hana soma kyo. It even has a nice double vowel at the end. Perhaps the most famous example of this isn't Shmup, but the place where a lot of Shmups come from, Tokyo. Again, just to reiterate, if you say Tokyo, I don't care. But that last sound in Japanese is kyo. Okay, so last up we have one little point that you'll only see rarely, but just in case you do, this is a repeated consonant like in the Japanified English word shot, as in shot type, which in Japanese is pronounced shotto. See that double T? That indicates what's known as a glottal stop, and it's something we do use in English, although it's kind of hard to explain. Easiest way is if you think how Scottish people say the name of their own country. Now here, we often drop our T's when speaking quickly, however, we don't say Scotland. There's a pause where the T would be Scotland. The O and L don't run together smoothly like in holiday. There's a gap. So the same goes in Japanese. You don't have shoto, you have shotto. This one's not that important, but it is a thing, so I thought I might as well include it. So with these rules, nothing should be unpronounceable. Raijin, Sengoku, Mushihime-sama Futari. Everything follows these same few rules, and 90% of what's most important is just getting those vowels right, and always saying them the same way. Before we go, one last thing, a kind of little tip for anyone wanting to try a little reading. As I said, Japanese can be formidable at first, and the writing is a huge part of that. But don't be put off completely. If you are looking to, for example, go shopping in Akihabara, one thing I'd recommend trying is learning katakana. This is just one of the scripts used in Japan, and it's the Japanese symbols to write sounds we've taken all of about 5 minutes to learn. It won't allow you to read books or newspapers, but it can be learned very quickly and will allow you to read many game titles. And seriously, if you study it for 30 minutes to an hour a day, you can be reading it in a week. There are only a little over 50 symbols, and it's incredibly useful both for visiting Japanese game stores or even navigating import sites. So, hope this video has been of some use. This is just very basic stuff, and as you can see, it's pretty easy if you just stick to the rules. As ever, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Cheers.